Oh, that's great. Alright, let's get out of here.
Oh shit.
This video is from my good friend Nathan. He recommended this game to me when I was having a hard time enjoying playing anything, and I texted him throughout it in a vain attempt to recapture the experience that I had going through Dark Souls 3 for the first time and texting him like every day about it, which is absolutely one of my favorite gaming experiences ever, and definitely in my adult life. It did not live up to that, but that's a high bar to set. It was fun though. I enjoyed it. And now, Nathan, I want to tell you some things that I liked about the game. The core unique mechanic in this game, which was the Umbral Realm, or as I tended to call it, the Shadow Realm, it was kind of like the Upside Down in Stranger Things. It was implemented far better than I could have imagined. At first I thought it was just going to be a gimmick to solve the puzzles, but actually it showcased my favorite part of the game, which was the art design and overall atmosphere in an excellent way. I love that you can peer into it at any given time with the lamp, and then when you pop into it, it's a whole shift of color palette and sound design. Overall, it added so much to the world building of the game. And the Red Reaper that starts harassing you if you stay in too long was awesome, I thought. It didn't happen too many times over the course of the game, but when it did, it was memorable moments. The other functions of the lamp were also pretty dope. I like that you can soul flay an enemy and throw them off a cliff. That gave me great joy. And I like that you use the lamp to defeat mimics. And mimics in this game, they kind of crap all over Dark Souls mimics. Like, once you know the mimics in Dark Souls, they can never really fool you. In this game, there were several times that even after I knew what the mimics were, I would run into a room, get a little greedy, picking up items while I was fighting, and get got. But I loved that. Also, by sheer coincidence, the weapon that ended up being my favorite in the game, and there's a whole story about that I'll tell you later. It had some quirky physics, one of which was if you stood over a mimic, it would just go absolutely nuts. And I thought that was pretty gnarly. My boy's in here. Hang on. Hey, tell my friend Nathan it was gnarly, dude.
That was a gnarly deal.
Alright, back to my list. What's next? Armor. I thought basically every one of the armor sets in the game was designed very well. It made Fashion Souls fun to play, and I got really stoked when I would find the color palette things out in the world. I think they were called tinctures that allowed you to change each piece of your armor set to a different color. Yeah, the designs and detail in pretty much all of the armor sets, I found myself admiring them, so I appreciated that part of the artistic design as well. Alright, maps and areas. First off, the map menu made me think of Dark Souls 2's map menu, and that made me happy. I found the attempts to do the From Software style interconnectivity in the maps to be a little underwhelming. But on my second playthrough, there was a few moments that I appreciated quite a lot. There was one specific moment where you wrap around back to essentially the beginning of the game, and it was kind of one of those like, this was unnecessary, but very cool, and I appreciate it. My favorite level was the Tower of Penance, and it wasn't particularly close. I liked everything about that area. From the vibes on the approach from the previous area, to the art style of the building itself and the sound design. And I love the way that it's this game's like creepy insane asylum type level, while also being this game's drop forever down into hell level. It was awesome. And if I had to like sell somebody on the game, it would be a mashup of the atmosphere of the Tower of Penance. One of my biggest like okay, this game is pretty damn cool moments came at the top of this tower, because I'd enjoyed the whole ride down and then up. And then I went into umbral mode at the top, and the changes to the surrounding landscape and to the outside of the tower itself, once I went back down, kind of blew my mind. It also happened to have my favorite boss at the bottom.
Now you will know darkness, brother.
Okay, now I have to switch it up a little bit and just nerd out for a while, telling you a story that starts with my build and gear choices, but then leads to what was probably my favorite experience in the game and what motivated me to go into New Game Plus and do an entire second playthrough. So my aim at the beginning was to do a paladin tank type build, strength and faith, and use big boy swords. But I quickly fell into my normal ways and I started dual wielding hammers because they hit so damn quickly, and I'm a sucker for that. But about halfway through the game, I found a big bonking sword that I really clicked with. It was kind of a Dollar General version of the Blasphemous Blade from Elden Ring, and it wrecked. And it also changed my playstyle, where I started using more spells that were like a stand your ground, you know. I embraced the tank. And that carried me through basically to the very end of the game. Quick side tangent just to say that the magic system is another thing I really liked in this game. I think it was objectively better than the Souls games. And I actually stopped using the magic as much towards the end of the game because it got so strong. And there were so many different items that would regen your mana that I could essentially just nuke everything from a distance and never have to fight anything if I just focused on spells. Alright, back to the story. And then, right at the end, when I kind of sensed that the game was coming to a close, I decided, just for no reason really, that I was going to switch back to dual wielding. And so I looked through my massive inventory, picked out this flail that I had picked up, and I went to the wiki. For some reason, I think I was comparing two. I went to the wiki and happened to see that this one flail that I was looking at had a special attack that could be unlocked. And at this point, I didn't even know this was a mechanic in the game. But it turns out that most of the boss weapons have some special attack that you have to do a certain quest to unlock, which is cool in itself, and that was a cool thing to learn. But then this random weapon, and I don't know how many there are like this in the game, that was not a boss weapon, also had one of these. So I was like, I'm in, let's go do that. And that led me down an entire rabbit hole that was very cool, because it was unlike From Software type secrets. This was more akin to the Remnant games. And one of my favorite things about those games is the multi-layered secrets that you can find that essentially require a guide. So I pulled up a guide, and here I go. I'm on a mission to unlock the secret ability of this flickering flail that I've randomly chosen from my inventory, just to serve as one of my dual-wieldy smashy weapons. So the quest began at the bottom of the Tower of Penance, and you already know how I feel about that place. That's not only where you got the weapon, but where you find the first shrine, where you have to do a specific gesture in order to receive a hint about a specific type of enemy and a number of that enemy that you have to defeat. You have to do that with the weapon. And so I began that journey. And that led me to this doorway at some point that I had no idea that intersected with this whole thing. So I throw down one of the seedlings, which is another cool mechanic in this game. And I'm like, I'll come back to this later. I'm already in the middle of something. When I'm done, I'll come back here. And so I continue going to these different shrines, seeing what it is that it wants me to hunt out and kill, killing that number of those enemies, coming back to the shrine, going to the next shrine, whatever it may be. I think I do like 6 or 7 of these maybe. So at some point, I get confused. I don't even know where I'm supposed to be going next. And I end up warping back to the seedling that I'd put down. And I'm like, hey, that door's open now that I was wondering about earlier. And so I go in. And at first, there's kind of a standard mini-boss type of encounter. And then I think I died. And the umbral world in that room that I was in was like extra trippy. I had no idea what was going on. And then I find this armor set that ends up being a Dark Souls Havel the Rock callback. And so I'm kind of stoked about that alone. But then I realized that that was actually the end of the long quest line I had been on anyway. And it just all seemed to come together by happy accident, even though I'd been following a guide. It was just a good time. At this point, I was as consumed and like nerdy into the game as I had been the entire time. I actually started doing live commentary at some point in this because I was so into it, and I was thinking I may make a YouTube video about this. And even though I did enjoy every minute of it, and I'm a sucker for farming and tedious quest lines, it was still probably the longest and most tedious quest line I've ever done in a Souls game. So I'll just let you hear the clear disappointment in my voice when I realize what my final reward is. But it's still not the end of the story. Okay, if I upgrade this to plus 10, theoretically, since I've done this crazy armor quest, it should now have some type of special move. If it doesn't, man, I'm gonna be real disappointed. Don't know how to do it. Oh. That's it. That's it. It takes a soul flay charge. Just that. That's it. I did all that. Yep, when I'm out of soul flay charges, back to the normal question. There is an umbral eye that regains soul flay charge while an umbral. Oh, it's a secondary socket. Hell yeah. What does that mean? Okay, it's on now. Does it just slowly regenerate? It does. There's one. There's two. Okay, so I can do that, and anytime I die and go into umbral, I can just slowly regenerate those so I could use it. Probably not worth it, but you know what? It's kind of cool. I did it. I'm ready to end the game now. That was my final task. Let's do it. So that feeling of disappointment there, and the like, I was kind of expecting a little more, actually made the real payoff better. But it wasn't until after I'd finished the entire game that I realized it had a one-handed attack as well. And for some reason, that attack is ridiculously overpowered. Like way more than anything else I found the entire time I was playing the game. And once I found that, I was like, well, we gotta test this. So I went into New Game Plus, which you and the internet both told me is significantly harder than base game, like more so than the Souls games. And so this montage of most of the bosses in New Game Plus should be a testament to just how powerful it was. And it really was just like the whole thing, the whole sequence of events, the whole tedious side quests, the disappointment, the wrapping around to finding what seems to be, I haven't really researched it, but what seems to be as strong as anything in the game. It was just a nice arc, man. It was so fun. And it honestly is the reason I made this YouTube video. I've probably rambled about it too long, but it was so fun. And it made the whole game worth it. And it made me appreciate you for recommending it to me and for texting me through it and motivating me to play it, because I'd been in this stretch of like starting games and stopping, starting games and stopping. And I don't think that if it wasn't for the social aspect of like texting you, I would have even finished this game. But at the very end, I got this super nerdy I was about to make a really dirty joke, but Anyway, you know what I'm talking about. It's that good times. It's them nerdy good times. I got it at the end of this game. So here it is, boss montage to end the video. I appreciate you. I love you. I'll see you soon.
Oh.
Later, man.
some rooks.